Hello calculus students, let's continue our series of videos here on the fundamental theorems of calculus. And in this video I'm just going to explain a few ideas that are related to the fundamental theorem of calculus, the first of which is the mean value theorem for integrals. So it says here that if f is a continuous function on some closed interval a, b, so let's say here's a, here's b, and here's some function f, then there exists a point C in this interval where f of c times b minus a is equal to this definite integral. So it's saying here, let's say you have a definite integral, that's the blue region. Okay, so that's this whole thing here is that blue region. It says that somewhere in here is a point C, and I guess I'll just pick this one. Okay, it's not necessarily the midpoint, it's a point C, and if you go up from C to find f of c, then this rectangle, the red rectangle, that's what this is saying, is exactly equal to the blue area. Okay, so this is basically says that the red rectangle is equal to the blue region. Okay. I'll post another video later where we look at some animations of this, where I can show you that this is more true. But for right now, this is what the theorem says, that somewhere in here is a point C, such that if I take this point C and jump up to the function and use as my height to make one rectangle, then the area of that one rectangle must be exactly equal to the area of the blue region. It's probably not what I drew here, because this is a very poor drawing, but it's important to understand that what that theorem says. And we'll also do some work where we find out what this point actually is for any specific function. Okay. And the next part I want to talk about is the average value of f of x between a and b. So that's this thing here. And let's unpack this a little bit and understand better what this means. So the average value is, when we say the average, okay, so the average is equal to the total of all values divided by the number of values. Okay, usually that's the standard definition of average, but with the case of a function, let's say this is a and this is b, and this is f of x. So to take the total here, the total of all values, the first value is that point, the second value is a point infinitesimally close to that, the third value is right there, fourth, fifth, and there's an infinite number of values here. So by adding up the sum of all the values, what you're really doing here is calculating the area. So the top here, the total, is the area of the function. The number of values, well, how many values are there? Well, we could put a dot in front of all the values. A is a value, just next to A, just next to that, just next to that. So this entire section here, the width of this base here is the number of all values. So that's the length of that line segment. Okay, and you can think of it another way as it's a if you have a rectangle and you divide it by the base, then you get the average of all the heights. Now, what I'd like all of you to think about is, how are these two things related? Okay. This is a theorem that says something, and this is the definition of something about the average. But you can really use this theorem to explain why this is true a little bit better. okay, to connect these two ideas. So this is a definition that you should just sort of memorize and use it later on, although it's more important to understand what the meaning of this really is saying. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Be sure to watch the other videos as well.